What if I tell you that there are foods that can boost your brain, your immune function, and the whole wellness of your body? What are superfoods? And how can you live life with superfoods, super actions, and super activities? And what if I tell you that it is not enough? It is not just superfoods, there's more to it. This is Dr. Raul Enad from Cadenza Medical Clinic, Ave Maria, Florida. We are going to talk about superfoods, the definition. What are the superfoods available maybe in your kitchen or the grocery store? And what are other things, activities that can boost your life, your mind, your body, your soul especially? So stay tuned, keep your mind open, and we'll go into the details of this. So superfoods are not magical. It's available in the nature. It is nutrient dense. It helps boost your immune function by way of providing you the necessary antioxidants, number one. Number two, vitamins and trace minerals. As you know, life, the subsistence of a cell, whether it's the brain cell, the muscle cell, or the heart cell, it needs energy. That's the key. It's translated into the scientific term called ATP, or adenosine triphosphate. That is produced in the subcellular level, the mitochondria, one of the organelles in the cell. For example, you have a brain cell, there's a lot of mitochondria. The more mitochondria there is there and producing ATP, the brain will work better. The same with the muscles. Cyclists, for example, if you have many mitochondria in per cell or per muscle, you have the propensity to have more energy and you have more efficiency in your activity. Take, for example, Lance Armstrong. He had more mitochondria in his muscle cell than his counterparts. That gives him an advantage. So boost them with superfoods, which is rich, nutrient dense, rich in antioxidants, nutrients, and trace minerals. In every activity that you have, even daily worries, preparing for exam, preparing for this video, or thinking about anything that would excite your feelings or make you upset or even joy. That requires some energy in wherever it is, especially the brain. It is imperative that you support this system. Superfoods are the foods that are dense micronutrients, trace minerals, and antioxidants. These are the examples of common superfoods. Number one, berries are not created equal. The blueberries are identified pretty much as the best of the superfoods. It contains acanthocyanin. It is a super antioxidant. Blueberries contain prebiotic fibers, which can nourish healthy gut bacteria. Take note of this. What are prebiotics? The probiotics is the live microorganism, which are the microbiota or the good bacteria that thrives in the intestine. It is very important in dictating your whole body, including your mood, your ability to sustain stress. For example, the gut bacteria produces about 90% of your serotonin of your whole body. It's not the brain. While serotonin is the neurotransmitter that makes you happy. It is encapsulated, put in a commercial form called SSRI, the mechanism of which is to inhibit the destruction of the serotonin to give you more serotonin levels in your body, especially the brain. But mind you, the best source of your serotonin is the gut. So this prebiotic, or the fiber, especially in cruciferous vegetables as well, like kale, cauliflower, asparagus, anything with good fiber, or chia seeds, are fermented and produce 3 short-chain fatty acid, which is most commonly identified: the butyrate, acetate, and the propionate. This heals the gut, the leaky gut that is usually the prime suspect of many of these chronic illnesses, including the autoimmune diseases and metabolic syndrome, because these will affect your metabolism as well. If you have allergy to one nutrient, for example, peanuts or whey, most likely you have allergies to many of the proteins. And if you have a leaky gut if you're suspected for having a leaky gut, this also predisposes you to autoimmune disease by way of entry of this antigen or the protein foreign in the lymphocytes, on the site of the lymphocytes or the immune kingdom, that produces antibody to that. For example, Yersinia, the bacteria. Once the zona occludens in the small intestine is opened up. It opens up a gate, flooding of many proteins, including bacteria, for example. This bacteria that I told you, Yersinia, has the same molecular DNA configuration of the thyroglobulin in the thyroid. So when the lymphocytes sees that protein foreign to him, he will make an antibody against this bacteria. But these will only be identified in the DNA, what you call the molecular DNA. This is called what you call a molecular mimicry of the DNA. So it mimics the DNA of the thyroid such that the antibody to the Yersinia configures the same DNA and settles by homing to the thyroid tissue. This is what you call Hashimoto's disease. You elevate the TPO, the thyroid peroxidase, and the anti-thyroglobulin. With a continuous inflammation around the thyroid, this produces you to have hypothyroidism, which can manifest with fatigue, tiredness, brain clogging, all the symptoms of hypothyroidism. So this simple substance, or the simple food, superfood, rich in fiber, for example, blueberry and chia seeds and cruciferous vegetables, is important for your well-being. Blueberries are rich in antioxidants. As I told you, every little stress, everything that perturbs your system, produces reactive oxygen species or oxygen radicals. These two notorious oxygen species and oxygen radicals causes aging. It can mutate your DNA, producing bad proteins with the unfolded protein or randomly folded protein. This allows the DNA to produce proteins that are not necessarily good, and it's erratic in growth. That is the reason why you can be predisposed to development of cancer. The cancer cells are erratic. This can be provoked by the reactive oxygen species and oxygen radicals coming from inflammation or whatever this is, pollutants, systemic inflammation from food, and that is the reason why you need to counteract these with antioxidants like vitamin C, glutathione, good oil, omega-3, for example. So these are superfood. So number one, it was the blueberries and the chia seeds and the cruciferous vegetables like kale, cauliflower, asparagus, anything that's rich in fiber. Let's talk about grain. Quinoa. You love that. Learn to love it because it's dense in fiber and dense in energy because it's rich in protein. The oily food or the oily fish such as salmon, tuna, mackerel, sardines, these are rich in omega-3. And behind the story is this fish becomes a superfood because they contain omega-3. And where is the omega-3 coming from the fish? Coming from the seaweed that they nourish at the seabed of the ocean. So most likely, if you find a fish that is farm raised and they don't pay attention to the food of the fish, most likely you're not getting enough omega-3 compared to the one that is raw, wild caught from the ocean. So something to think about when you think about the good fish. Salmon, tuna, mackerel, sardines, and all those good fish. What about the fruits? I consider avocado as a fruit because in the Philippines we eat those as a dessert. In Mexico, I love that country. The food is so good. They always have guacamole or omega-3. Omega-3 is a super antioxidant. The super antioxidant that I'm talking about is that it neutralizes the reactive oxygen species and oxygen radicals. These are erratic species that can just go anywhere. It needs to be neutral. It needs to be neutralized so that it prevents you from getting harmed from this oxygen species and reactive oxygens. Spices. Number one is turmeric. We all know that. Ginger, for example, garlic. These are substances rich in the herbs. Lemon basil, lemongrass. Enrich your food or your soup with all these herbs because they are rich in antioxidants, which is necessary to keep yourself healthy rejuvenated, and young. So what are superfoods? Superfood is also dense in calorie. That's the reason why you don't need a lot of the substance that is needed to produce, to give you these basic micronutrients and super antioxidants, sparing you from the caloric load of those because it's high in fiber. You have the propensity to consume less carbohydrates, which is calorie dense, especially the sugar that is in the carbohydrates, which you need to load up with calories and you gain weight because it is a super antioxidant. It's a good food for the heart. The heart, for example, is provided with a blood supply called the coronary arteries. This is important because the coronary arteries needs to be opened so that the blood flow goes to the heart to supply the heart muscle. Now, if your coronary arteries is blocked with plaque, and especially it is filled with calcium deposits, and if you are also making the cholesterol plaque crystallized by acute surge of sympathetic tone like anger, depression, or sadness, or even COVID vaccine, or even acute trauma from emotional trauma, this can precipitate acute heart attack because behind the plaque or beneath the plaque, when it crystallizes and it's not stable because of lack of antioxidants, cholesterol needles or cholesterol crystals will pierce the plaque and release the substances that produce atheroma or clots. And the more the atheroma is released, it invites more platelets, becomes more sticky. The more it gets sticky, it becomes big. So if the lumen is just this big, the clot behind this is so big, then it will prevent flow of the blood flow to the heart and even the brain to cause you heart attack and stroke. So what is needed to prevent this is antioxidants and to tone your autonomic nervous system by switching the sympathetic tone to parasympathetic tone. It is all connected. What heals the autonomic nervous system from sympathetic to parasympathetic? Meditation. Meditation, especially meditating on the unconditional love of Christ through His passion, His love for us. Not only it heals your soul, but physiologically it does. Because when you breathe in, 4, hold, and you breathe out slowly, count of 8, and you hold like this. Breathe in, hold, exhale. Inhale 4, hold 4, exhale 8. When you do this slow, deep breathing, you're activating your heart rate variability. The more variability of your heart rate in millisecond related to your respiration, you're increasing your heart rate variability, which is correlated to the parasympathetic tone, where you're in a vagal tone, or the ventral vagus branch is toned. You are resting and digesting. When you eat these prebiotics, it tends for you to have your gut calm because you're providing proper nutrients and the short-chain fatty acids that I was talking about from the superfood that also produces serotonin, which calms the brain and induces a very calm state of your brain and your gut. You will have less heebie-jeebies or butterflies in your stomach if you are predisposed to anxiety, and we can talk about that. This food also helps you promote a very calm brain. Take, for example, strawberry, a cup of strawberry. It will incite or produce more, it would unload a lot of glucose compared to, for example, the blueberries, because it's rich in fiber. Take, for example, a ripe mango, especially from Mexico or from the Philippines. It's so sweet, but it gives you more sugar than the green mangoes that you would eat. Big difference. Or if you cook the quinoa and you leave them overnight cold in the refrigerator, that changes the configuration of the quinoa and even the rice and then the pasta, especially the quinoa pasta. changes the configuration to make it less glycemic. So you might want to think about that on how you prepare your superfood. Freezing also will help. Quinoa, for example, is very versatile. You can make it as a salad, as a substitute for your rice to give you that fill. These are superfoods. It boosts your brain function by way also of allowing the brain to breathe, anti-oxidizing the cell of the brain to be able to produce ATP and absorb nutrients so that your brain is well fed with nutrients and glowing and gleaming with energy and able to think instead of being brain fogged. Superfood can help you with that. Superfood supports digestion. Not only that, because the fiber is rich in, the superfood is rich in fiber, as I said, it will allow better fermentation of these fibers that produces the short-chain fatty acids that is needed for the nutrition of the microbiota and also for the healing of the leaky gut. These short-chain fatty acids are acetate, butyrate, and propionate. So, in a way, the superfood also can help you with weight management. Because of the fiber, you tend to be feeling full all the time, like satiety is filled all the time. Remember, satiety in the brain is dictated by a very hairline margin of two centers, the food satiety and the thirst. So many times, if you want to do management of your weight with superfood, where there's some craving of hunger, it might be thirst. So drink first lemon water or soup before you even think about eating food that has potential calories in it. Well, you need calories, but lesser. So most superfood have phytonutrients. And what are these? And where do you find them? Phytonutrients are flavonoids, which is present in plants. Example of flavonoids are the quercetin, catechins, anthocyanins. Sounds familiar? Acanthocyans in the blueberry. Catechins are in the onions. Quercetin is also present in onions. So it's good to have onion soup. The French onion soup is always a welcome. You put some spices, you put some herbs. That makes it a delicious thing. And why is soup really important in the strategic management of weight management? In many cultures, you drink soup, you're offered soup before you even partake in the real meal. Because it allows the stomach to dilate. The dilation of the stomach will help send signal to the hypothalamus and say, I'm not hungry anymore, or even to the center for thirst. So I'm not thirsty, I'm okay. So you tend to eat less. Spread the soup and the lemon water or lemonade before you imbibe on something. Carotenoids, these are present in superfoods, and these are good for eyesight, especially from the carrots. Glucosinolates, these are anti-cancer molecules, which is also present in superfoods. Saponins, these are immune-boosting substances that can potentially lower the cholesterol. It's present in most superfoods. The lignans, present in superfoods, and it helps hormonal balance and can protect cancer. Resveratrol, high in red grapes, and this is also considered a super drink or superfood, but you have to take a lot of grapes, so you might gain weight if you go into access resveratrol, maybe a truckload of grapes. So what are the other important issues of or contributions of superfood? As I said, it gives you less caloric load, it helps your mood, it helps the digestion, with also feeds the microbiome. Don't forget, it also is a source of trace minerals. These superfoods are packed with trace minerals like magnesium, iron, which is needed to promote production of hemoglobin, needed also to carry the oxygen to wherever it needs to go, to the brain. If you're anemic or low hemoglobin, most likely your iron is low. So you need to improve your digestion and the absorption of iron. Iron is best absorbed in acidic medium, such as in the presence of ascorbic acid or vitamin C. Zinc is needed. We know about this when COVID came. Zinc, everybody was popping up zinc. It's good for immune function, and it's present in superfoods. Potassium. Potassium helps regulate the heart rhythm and the function of your heart and your brain. The B vitamins, don't exclude the B vitamins in your support, and it's present in the vegetables, in meat. The B vitamins is needed in the production of ATP, making it simple. As I said, antioxidants, the flavonoids, these are present in the superfood, and it offers low glycemic index. So practical things. You might want to hydrate yourself with super drinks. For example, lemon water, a jug of lemon squeezed, and then you put chia seed overnight. Let it become a gel, and that becomes your drink. It's so dense in fiber that you don't need really to eat more, especially when you're fasting on a Friday. I would say drink a chia drink. Chia seeds soaked overnight in lemon water. That will help you offer up something and not needing other really sugary food or processed food. You don't need that. So we talk about superfoods. But in life, superfood is not the most important thing after all. You can fast. We're doing fasting on Wednesdays and Fridays in honor on Wednesday for the betrayal of Judas, and Fridays for the Passion. So it elevates your fasting, not just fasting to help shut off some weight. It elevates it, and it gives you more transcendental meaning of what you're doing. And it activates also the center of the brain, the prefrontal cortex. You don't have the dopamine spikes of the sugar. Remember, long-lasting dopamine content or level is secreted if there is a goal-oriented task, meaning I'm going to go fulfill this task of completing my degree or completing a song or something. Not the likes of Facebook, not the likes of social media. So when you have this fasting, you can also just imbibe on some superfood, but make sure you hydrate them. You hydrate yourself to expand the fiber in the superfood. Corporal mortification. What I mean by that is you don't need to whip yourself with a silis, with a belt, that some of those our beloved saints have done in the past. We can just do simple corporal mortification by doing one step of exercise. Something that is inconvenient for you and or uncomfortable. Something that would help your health, because one step at a time increases the BDNF, or the brain-derived neurotropic factor, that helps motivate you to exercise more. And if you access this secretion of BDNF, the longer you exercise, especially a minimum of 40 minutes of maintaining your heart rate at 60 to 80% of your maximum heart rate, then you're accessing the metabolic benefits. The BDNF is increased. It helps heal the pruned myelin that was pruned when you're stressed. So the BDNF, like fertilizer, allows it to grow and reconnect the circuits of your brain. That is the reason why when you're exercising, you feel good. Serotonin goes up, BDNF is up, and you're less predisposed to simple infection, because simple infection usually attacks the mucosa. The most important antibody there is the IgA type of antibody. When you meditate, when you exercise, it improves the function of these cells, especially the natural killer cell. When you exercise, these are just like bats in the circulation, hanging. When you exercise, it shakes off and then releases those natural killer cells and makes a movement like surveilling the streets, looking for those bad boys, anything, bacteria, fungi, even the cancer cells. So it is imperative that you exercise. So we talk about superfood, fasting, exercise as corporal mortification. Sleep is very important. You cannot expect a healthy life if you don't sleep. Dream once in a while. Take melatonin, or increase your melatonin level by decreasing the light going inside your eye. Melatonin increases through the day, but you can cut it short, the production of melatonin, if you expose your eye in the light. A long time ago, you're supposed to see darkness in preparation for your sleep. But nowadays, there's just so many. TV, social media, from the iPhone, from LED lights. And by the way, use incandescent lights, the amber lights, the decrease of your melatonin. It will help you sleep. Melatonin also is a super antioxidant, helps the brain shut off those the oxygen species the radical oxygen species and the oxygen reactive oxygen species. So you need to sleep to allow also regrowth of the myelin that has been damaged by pruning from the stress. Above all, what really is important is meditation. Why? Because the whole of your body, the health, physical, mind, immune system is dictated by the single apparatus of your body, which is not usually discussed in the mainstream medicine: autonomic nervous system. The autonomic nervous system consists of two, sympathetic and parasympathetic tone. Most of us are sympathetically overcharged. Simple messages, how many messages you answer. How many times would you check your iPhone as if like you're really needed by somebody? No, you can let go of that phone and be on time. I have this very good friend who does not respond right away to my text. Well, because he's so busy. He's preparing all his papers and someday he will be a Nobel Prize winner. But I admire that because he doesn't respond because he's focused. We should do that. Fast from the social media. Because the more you use the social media, your brain shrinks. And there's some studies to that. Your prefrontal cortex decreases in size. It's almost like your brain is fried. And believe me, many of us already are affected with this. And the worst is, the younger has it become. Many of these kids, 7, 8 years old, are decreasing in the brain volume of the hippocampus and the prefrontal cortex. That is the reason why they cannot execute good personal relationship or contact, because they don't have the executive function of doing these things, interacting with their peers or their friends. They cannot even emote because the center for emotion, the anterior cingulate, is also fried. It's decreased because of social media. Gaming video, number one, notorious. It can be addictive and it can destroy your prefrontal cortex that is responsible for making moral decisions. I've seen relationships broken because of an irresponsible, and I call them irresponsible adults, 30, 40 years old, still gaming. They should be thinking about the future, about writing good things and raising a family. And they're trapped in the social media. You're not even sparing. There's no spare for anybody there. Priests, nuns who engage in social media, they can be affected. The CEO of a company, they can be affected with the social media and the dopamine spikes. And the worst is, if you look into the doctor's lounge, if you look into the hospital system, what is served in the conferences: soda, sugar, heavily laden sugar drinks. You cannot escape from the soda. You cannot escape from the sugar. It's all over the place. And I would appeal actually to those organizers of medical conferences and healthcare conferences, or even in the cafeteria in the school, focus more on superfood. They're less dense. It is relatively inexpensive. Do away with the sugar and processed food. I'm appealing to those mothers. Prepare natural good food. Slow cooking, steaming, and boiling. Away with the browning of meat, of food, or preparing it with high heat. Because these are the convenient way of preparing food, which is destroying our health. What you need is a slow processed food, prepared with love for your family. So to recap, we have discussed about the need for superfood. It's there, available. We need to fast, especially fasting from sugar. Number 3, do corporal mortifications. Simple exercise does that. You don't need to be crucified. You don't need to be whipped. 4, sleep. Sleep. You need your dreams back. Above all, meditation. Unconditional love meditation of Jesus. Because this will reset your autonomic nervous system to parasympathetic nervous system. It increases your blood flow to the hippocampus and less to the amygdala, which is the center for anxiety, anger, and depression. It will improve the circulation to the encingulate cortex, which is the center for emotions, processing of emotion. In that way, you can be more compassionate and more feeling towards other people on even events. It also increases the circulation to the insula, which is the processing of the immune function. Overall, the increase in the circulation to the prefrontal cortex when you meditate. And this is the center for your moral decision making. It is really important to be magnanimous, a moral leader, a leader with a vision for your family, for yourself, and for the corporation that you're working for. So this is Dr. Enad from Cadenza Medical Clinic. If you like this video, please drop a comment. We're going to discuss, share to your friends and family, and like and subscribe. Also, don't forget to subscribe the red platform and the blue platform and all the social media across. I'm in there. Thank you.